internet. I haven't slept for a week, but I will record this video. It's Irina, the Siberian who's gone international. 5 liters of coffee is the sponsor of today's video. Did you know that Finland is the heaviest coffee consumer in the world if you count per person? I contribute a lot to that. As you may have guessed, today's video is going to be about the things I love in Finland. I was not born in Finland, but I've lived here some of my teenage years and also my late 20s. So I know this country pretty well, and today I'm gonna tell you about 5 things which I think a lot of other countries should adopt. First thing which I love, and I know that if I will happen to move somewhere I will miss it a lot, is working conditions. And first thing about that is the length of vacation. I mean, at minimum you get 5 weeks. 5 weeks! My company gives me 6 weeks and that's average. My mom, she gets 32 days off a year, but that's because she works for many years and also she works for the public sector. I don't think I will ever get 32 days, but anyway. The second point is I love the clock in and clock out system that many companies use. I had a clock in and clock out system in the US, but the only purpose of that one was to make sure that you're not late, that you're on time, and that you will never leave earlier than you're supposed to. In Finland it's not like that. The idea of the Finnish system is to give flexibility both to the employee and to the employer and to make it fair for both parties. Let's say you're supposed to work from 9 to 5, but one day you have this huge deadline, so you have to stay until 7. Those 2 hours get saved. So if the next day you will have to go to the dentist, you can use those extra 2 hours and show up at work only at 11. And depending on the company, there is a limit of hours you can save. In mine it's 40 hours. So sometimes you even get extra day off from these accumulated extra hours. Another pretty typical thing for a Finnish company is to allow their employees to work remotely, which is amazing. I love that it's all about trust and about delivering the results, but not about sitting in the office and being controlled by your boss. So, for example, 1 day a week you can save time on commuting and getting dressed and just work from home in your pajamas. And the thing is, once you had all of that, you start seeing it as basic human rights, so then it's really difficult to go back to short vacations, lack of flexibility, and to not having a possibility to work remotely. The second thing I love is the lack of bureaucracy. Most of the services here are really user-friendly. If you go to a pharmacy and you have a prescription from your doctor, that prescription is in the system. So you just show your ID and they give it to you. You don't have to bring any papers. All your visits to the doctors are recorded and all your labs results are recorded, so any doctor can access them and then you can review them anytime you want as well. Then if you need to change a passport, you don't have to fill out 500 million forms, you don't have to even go anywhere. I mean, you have to go to the photographer, which will take a picture of you and give you this reference number, which you then enter into the application on the police office's website. And the application is pretty simple. It's just, I don't know, maybe 1 page. Then you submit the application and you get your passport mailed to you. I've heard from people who had an experience of getting residence permit or renewing it in Finland and, for example, in France, that it's day and night. In Finland you show up there once, bring a few documents and they mail it to you. In France you bring a dossier, you schedule an interview and then it takes, I don't know, another 3 visits to get the things moving. Taxes. When I hear that in some countries people have to hire someone to do their taxes, I get really confused, because in Finland you just go to the tax office's website, fill out a very user-friendly application, it calculates your tax, you print this PDF and then give it to your employer. That's it. Also, what I love is that Finns genuinely care about the environment. Pretty much every building stores their garbage. So, for example, in my household we have how many categories? Biodegradable waste, metal, glass, cardboards, newspapers and papers, plastic and mixed waste. So that is 7 categories. And then on top of that, the shops really discourage you from using plastic bags. They always charge you for that. And I remember when I came to the US for the first time, I nearly had a heart attack the first time when I went grocery shopping, because there was a woman who was packing your things for you and she was putting almost like 1 item per bag, And I was like, why? There's still room. My heart was bleeding when I saw that because it's so unnecessary. I believe the things probably have changed since then. It's been 10 years ago. But still, 2 or 3 months ago, I've been to Vegas and I saw people walking all over the place with these huge cups made of very thick plastic. And I mean, okay, maybe some of them will save it as a souvenir and maybe reuse it, but most of that is going to waste, and I don't know, is it really that necessary? And then also in Finland, if you buy a bottle of Coke, the price of the bottle, which is about 20 cents, is included in the price of the Coke. And once the bottle is empty and you have, I don't know, maybe 20 of them, you take them back to the shop, put them into this recycling machine, and you get your money back for those bottles. So that is a really cool idea which encourages people to return plastic instead of just throwing it away, right? The third point I like is, I guess you can call it reliability in general. It's like a broad term. By that I mean both punctuality, sense of security. Just let me give you a few examples. I work for an international corporation and we often have conf calls where representatives of many countries come to, and Finns are always the first one on the call. When it's like 1:00 p.m., it's only the Finnish people who are there. Well, maybe some other Scandinavian representatives. Then like 2, 3, 5, sometimes 10 minutes later, other participants start showing up. And I really like that because I'm a punctual person myself. I get super stressed even when I'm 5 minutes late, and I really appreciate when people respect my time too. Then, in terms of security, my parents once had their house unlocked for a year because they couldn't be bothered to change the locks or something, and then at the same time they had their car unlocked for 6 months because the lock was not working. And nothing happened. Also, I feel very secure all the time just walking around the city. I had a funny story recently because we have this guy who recently moved to Finland from another country, and late at night at like 11 p.m. we were going back home from the movies, and I was supposed to go in one direction, he was supposed to go in another direction, and this all was happening around the railway station. And I mean, you get some drunk people, but they're harmless. But the guy was like, oh my god, there are so many drunk people, I need to take you to the train, it's unsafe, I need to put you on a train. And I mean, it is really sweet, but it's really unnecessary. And I don't know, maybe I'm a bit naive, but in Finland I feel super safe all the time. I mean, come on, I've lived in Russia in the 90s and I've lived in Luton in the UK. Finland cannot scare me. And the last but not least is the lack of the show-off culture. I've never experienced seeing somebody, you know, showing off luxury items, and I've never seen that like a Finnish person would feel more important because they own, I don't know, an expensive item. And in general, it's just not typical for Finns to show off, which I believe is coming from the lack of huge gaps between classes, because in the countries where the gaps between classes are very huge, I noticed that it's really typical for people who don't really have that much money to, you know, save on food and save on basic comfort just to buy that expensive thing which will make them look like they're richer than they are. And that is a really sad behavior, and I'm really happy that it's not typical for Finland. And I actually think that this type of behavior and this type of values are kind of dying off worldwide. I don't know, at least I hope so. The time will show. I think that's all I had to say for today. It was a really short video, but of course it's not the only 5 things I like about Finland, so I'm gonna make part 2 later. And if you enjoyed it, like, subscribe and click the bell. That's what you're supposed to say if you're a growing YouTube channel with 5 subscribers. Hello everyone, I really appreciate you being here. See you in the next video. Bye!